Yeah, let me know when you're ready.
I'm just gonna give Nick a heads up. Nick, this is part 2. We're going to record this, and we will figure out a way to splice these two together because someone,
Yes.
someone might have goofed at the last missile trying to talk about Berserk.
Yes, hard cut. So anyway, the moral of the Berserk story is basically I got my wife to watch it on a very, very disturbing part that was essentially entire like demonic stuff. So.
Hell yeah. If you're gonna get introduced to Berserk, you better know what you're getting into, so.
Yes, very much so. But it was super good, and I don't know. Like I've never read manga personally. Everything I've watched has always been. But apparently, like the story is not like fully done in in a show.
Yeah. So.
I don't know if
Hey, he was mine.
Because what you'll run into is like. The manga has different stuff, because especially if they're doing like a simultaneous also blows my mind is that they can produce the animes faster than the manga in most times, which speaks to how undervalued animation is. But I really enjoy reading manga. Back when I read, I guess that's a story in its own about why I stopped reading.
Reading in general, or reading manga?
No, reading in general. I think it's such a waste of time. That's my
Really? Wow.
yeah.
Hot take.
That's my Gary V. Breakfast is a marketing stunt. Like hot take.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get back into it. It's a nice time activity, especially if you're if you're playing games or if you're watching a TV show with dinner or something like that. It's nice to. I'll just like go to bed about an hour earlier. Book out.
Yeah.
Just to decompress a little bit. Take care of your mind, take care of your eyes, boys and girls.
Yeah, and this is the hot take. It's just like there's just so little literature that I think is valuable to me. If any. And this is a super like slippery descent on my part, but I think this is a valuable time to tell this story. So I used to work at a library, and I would read all the time because I was pretty good at because my job was essentially like take care of customers and put the books away, and I could just bang those jobs out really quick, and then I'd just have some downtime. So I would just read. And that I read a lot of manga and books and all that stuff because I read pretty fast. That's a trait I picked up from my mother, and she can read faster than I can. So I just read so much stuff, and I was just like, I'm kind of over it.
Interesting.
And then, like, as our society develops in this really new path, my biggest example is like J.K. Rowling. Like, does the Harry Potter series have any value today, or is it really just nostalgia? Because in college I took I have an English minor with an emphasis
do you really?
I have an English minor with an emphasis in women's literature.
No, you don't. Are you the only successful person with a minor in?
Careful.
Hey.
We're gonna get canceled, Dan. We're gonna get canceled. This always happens.
One thing about controversy episode.
Oh no, not at all. Not the controversy episode. But my greatest joy, and my professor loved me, was just like really clowning on people. And I'm an ex-edgy millennial in a women's literature course.
Yeah, right.
So you can just imagine how that went down. And the big part of that was discussion about like what was the value of that literature, like taking it in within context of the period and what kind of like movements it was like involved with and all that kind of stuff. And so I took that because I worked at this library all through high school and then on my summers in college. And I took that
Rob, is everything okay?
education and applied it back to what I was reading, and it's like, I don't want to absorb the world through the lens of other people. I want to absorb it for myself. And so it disillusioned me so much on like literature in general. I'm like, I just don't care, because this is still a lens of an individual, a human being that is imperfect, and I'm just like, that's a lot of time to invest.
That's a really interesting take, actually.
I know.
We should discuss this like in our friendship versus this episode, because I don't know if I'll be able to actually articulate it. But that's interesting. I mean, so don't you now? Is that like reading fiction, or do you read nonfiction? Because I have a hard time reading fiction. Probably not exactly for that level, but anytime you get into like. My problem with fiction is like a lot of times they just do long descriptions about like the environment, and I'm like, okay, please, can we like get back to the story and not talk about like the
door color and the slight chipping on the
Eleanor's like Eleanor's flower pasted shoes made her feel especially elegant or whatever, you know.
No, it's both. Like there's like I'll read research, as in like studies, but I don't like reading research as in like a collection of other research. And so like just doing all this, because I did a ton of research papers, I did a whole bunch of studies with this English minor, and I was just like looking at works, and it's like, oh, like this has been debunked, or like this is like has found out to be a falsehood, or it's like this was the delusions of a raving woman of the time, and it's just like, oh, and then you look into
child predators, literally.
Yeah, it's the same thing that we're having these discussions about monuments for people, which like morally I don't see value in it. And I also have extensive art history, like, studies.
Yeah, right.
And this sounds so condescending, but it just boils down to, like, the stuff that I studied, like, jaded me so much on society.
Yeah, that's interesting. No, that's not a, it's not a super unheard of take, actually.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. That's interesting that you, attribute that wider to books in general. I think because I'll enjoy reading like history books, like biographies. I find those pretty valuable. Just I remember the best book I think I've ever read was a biography on Charles Lindbergh.
St. Louis Lindbergh?
Well. He's actually from Minnesota, I believe.
Right. We have a lot of monuments in Lindbergh. Isn't he like a Nazi?
No. So what happened was he, I guess you could probably talk about controversy. So he wasn't a Nazi. So they, So long story short, so what he got famous for was being the first person to fly across the Atlantic.
Right.
So this basically made him like, I don't even know, like Michael Jordan mixed with Elon Musk mixed with Muhammad Ali, like literally just like the most famous person like in the world at the moment.
Right.
So he was doing like world tours. He was like a ridiculously sought after like ambassador of the world. I believe you would call him a Renaissance man or something.
A Renaissance man.
Something to that effect. Whoops, that's not the way you're supposed to do that. So anyway, so long story short, so as World War II was picking up, you know, and this just canceled from YouTube. So as World War II was picking up, like, you know, there was a period of time where like the Nazi regime was not like Like it wasn't like the Nazis came into power and they were like,
no, they
this is
earned their
horrible.
power.
Yeah,
Like
those-
they were a
yeah.
political party for years up until
Correct.
the bad stuff, the bad.
Correct. Yeah. So they didn't come into power and they were like immediately ostracized. Like they had like diplomats and all that good stuff. So so Charles Lindbergh was one of the American kind of diplomats that got assigned to Nazi Germany. And what his kind of mission was, because, and you know, revisionist history. So like, everybody knew.
We're getting back to my point.
Yeah, I know. So everybody knew that like, okay, this is eventually going to, you know, end up in a probably going to be a war. You know, these guys are getting kind of hyphy.
Right.
You know, this Adolf guy, not all about the mustache and you know, clean streets. Yeah.
Let us. Okay, let's just get officially canceled. Let's remember that a majority of the murdering of Jews in Germany was a pandemic issue and health crisis.
Oh yes, absolutely. So anyway, long story short, so Charles Lindbergh's, and anytime I start saying long story short is how you know it's going to be a completely botched story. But Charles Lindbergh, part of his diplomatic mission was to like evaluate the Nazis' like ability to wage war, because he was like an expert on aviation, like everything.
One would think.
Yes, exactly. So, and part of the big thing about the Nazis was the Luftwaffe was their air force, basically.
Right.
So he basically was evaluating their ability to wage war, and he basically had a lot of complimentary things to say about it, like strictly from a military.
Right, like saying like, yeah, you know, like they can do some stuff.
Yeah, like these guys are actually incredibly smart. They've got fantastic engines, fantastic planes, and they're training their people, and they just have a whole setup that is like ready for war. So that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Plus, there was a lot of what should you say? Well, I mean, I don't know. I think it's important history to know. But
it's all important to my endpoint, so continue.
Yeah, yes. But anyway, so like, you know, like part of the way that the Nazis, you know, came to power, they were financed by like American banks, British banks. You know, it wasn't just like, you know, them waging war or whatnot. So all that to say, so basically, he wasn't a Nazi; he was against the war. You know, I don't know if you know Smedley Butler, but kind of like you know, like war is a racket. Like it's not. This isn't about you know, like saving people. This is about imperialism. So yeah, so
like
he was against
the empire that we're fighting here. Let's just we can relate
exactly,
it.
Yeah, it's about Emperor Andros.
Exactly.
So yeah, so that's basically his thing. He wasn't a Nazi. He was just against the war, which at that point, you know.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of like being a yeah. I'll say that. You get my point.
Yes.
So that's Charles Lindbergh for you.
Yeah.
But anyway, so reading that book, so I was able to rattle off all that. So if someone ever says to me, "Wasn't Charles Lindbergh a Nazi?" Actually, no, he wasn't a Nazi. He was a.
No, but actually, you're wrong, and you're a bad person, and you're gonna get canceled. Yeah. So actually, reading is bad for you because you've become a bad person that should be ostracized from society because your knowledge. So reading's bad, bro.
You learn things you're not supposed to know about.
well, yeah, and then that kind of like boils down to like part of my ascent from needing written word is we don't.
Much better off just reading cringe forums.
Yeah, cringe forums, bro. Like, give me the 4chan leaks about the Game Boy Advance being on the Nintendo Switch Online for the umpteenth time. Like, let's go.
Yes, exactly.
Ugh.
Exactly.
But there's also this theory that like we always evolve into a society that doesn't have written word, and so like when the technology like disappears, it looks like these ancient civilizations had nothing, you know. So world repeats itself. So reading's a waste of time. Don't even read. Don't even learn English.
Okay, well, there you have it.
There you have it.
That's why we run a video game.
Exactly. Well, I treat video games as an art form. It's a great storytelling device. You are completely unshackled by any media constraints. Like, it's just the best. Like, if you wanted
one
to...
that was previously untouched by, how you could say, the powers that be.
Right.
That is not the case, so...
But it goes back into my preservation needs too. Like this, I think there's a lot to talk about, like the fiction and non-fiction video game section in the libraries of my archives are going to be really nice.
Yeah, sure.
Ugh.
Inspiration of Starfox and Call of Duty.
Yes, exactly. Hey, you know what? Like, way to tell war stories. Like, we're talking about like, what if you made a Call of Duty that followed Lindbergh and explained all those things? Would that be a way to absorb information and content from a historical context?
Yeah, I think they should make historical video games like that. Like, take autobiographies and make video games out of them.
I think it would be great. Especially because we have a lot of, you could just skin, you take a game and you just skin it, but you're telling stories with it. Like, someone get EA on the phone, or Activision, or whoever is doing Call of Duty right now, and be like, hey, let's tell some legitimate stories that gives context to, the history, what was going on. Absolutely. But then we run into, the history is written by the winners. So...
I totally agree.
I don't know, man. We're way off from Starfox. How do we always do
good
this?
Combo, bro. Good combo. No,
that's why you like and subscribe, buy the merch, follow this channel, because we start out playing these video games and it just seems very innocent, and then we latch you into these deep conversations at the end, and that's what you're here for.
Yes, if you wonder why I'm so bad at video games now, it's because I took a solid 6-year break to just learn about the world, and here we are.
Yeah, you became an adult, a mature individual.
Exactly.
And my 4-year and 2-year-old are going to put on these episodes and be like, what the heck is going on?
What the heck?
What the heck?
I'll have to replace that entire conversation with Taco Bell dings.
Yes, oh man. The Taco Bell ding is probably my favorite censor, meme. That and the Fortnite down sound.
I don't know which one.
It's the digga, and Nick played it.
Okay. I like the one that goes, whoopsie.
Oh, that's a classic. That's from Mortal Kombat, right?
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's actually it's an Easter egg in the first few Mortal Kombat. I think they got them in all of them, maybe, but it's the first one. It's one of the creators just doing a fun sound. Okay. It's super fun. Another Easter egg. Noob Saibot is the two developers or creators of Mortal Kombat. Boone Tobias backwards. Noob Saibot.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
Wow, I got all these facts.
Deep history today. My Lord.
We're going for it. We're just gonna do it until you beat this boss. What are you supposed to do?
Yeah, well, so here's the thing. For one, this is a hard boss.
Okay.
We lost Slippy. I don't know if you picked that up.
I did pick that up.
Talking about the Nazis. So Slippy is the guy. For all of his uselessness, he is the guy who provides you with details on the enemy shield.
Ooh.
I have no idea the bosses.
That's so funny because
at this point.
Does that make him objectively the best companion to have?
Yeah, no, I absolutely think so. Actually,
that's so funny. I get it. That's such a good joke. Yeah. It's just usually Slippy, you're just garbage and useless, but here's the most valuable component.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. At least in this situation where
Love it.
So what's going to happen in reality is I'm going to go back to my suspend point and redo it, but
we're gonna do that in the next episode because we're gonna have to cobble together these 2 episodes anyway. So
yes, exactly.
Thank you for joining us, comrades, and I hope you took away some history, or we completely edited this because we value our lives on YouTube. So let us know how that all went. So thank you very much. Bye.
We're gonna break through that.